Hi, so I'm going to show you a few little lovely exercises you can do to warm up your spine. So if you're doing a yoga practice, you could put these at the beginning of your yoga practice, or they can just be done as a practice on their own. Very simple set of exercises that will just bring some movement and flexibility to the spine. They're all going to be done from the hands and knees position. So you may want to have a blanket under your knees. So you place the blanket under your knees so your knees are nice and comfortable. And you place your knees under your hips and they're hip distance apart. And your wrists under your elbows. So you can spread the fingers nice and wide and press into the floor with your hands. And the first one is just a simple cat and cow. So as you inhale, you drop your belly in your chest, you squeeze your shoulders behind you, squeeze them in towards each other, and you just lift your head and tail up into the air. And as you exhale, you press the hands into the floor, you curl the tailbone down, lift the lower ribs, separate the shoulder blades and tuck the chin into the chest. And then you inhale and you let your belly soften to the floor, your chest soften to the floor, squeezing shoulder blades back, head and tail up. And then as you exhale, press into the floor and press your feet into the floor as well and pull your pelvic floor muscles up, pull your belly into your spine. And then inhale, soften the belly, soften the chest, squeeze shoulder blades towards each other, head and tail up. And as you exhale, pressing into the floor and really lifting lower ribs, pelvic floor, belly into the spine, opening out the back of the heart. And then inhale. I'm just going to wave through the spine with the inhale and the exhale. So just keep the movement nice and easy and slow. Your exhale especially really slow. Your inhale, you're really squeezing the shoulder blades back, dropping the belly, so you're really opening the lungs right up at the front of the body. And as you exhale, it's like you're curling everything in, squeezing all the air out of the body. So you can do these anytime. These are really, really lovely if you ever feel any shoulder or spine pain. If you're in a position at the office where you can just get onto your hands and knees, then I would definitely recommend it. So about 5 to 10 breaths of these. And then we can add extra movements onto this exercise. So you can inhale as before, head and tail up, belly and chest down, squeezing shoulder blades towards each other. And as you exhale, you lift your nose to your knees, still pressing the floor away with the hands. And then as you inhale again, you take the foot back and the head back and arch the spine like before, and then exhaling, pressing the nose to the knee, inhaling, head and foot up, opening the chest, exhaling, curling the nose to the knee, inhaling back, and exhaling. And then place the knee back down. We did 4 on this side, so we're going to do 4 on the other side. Inhale here. Exhale the other knee into the nose, curling the spine. Inhaling, arching the spine, as if you're going to touch the top of the head with the toes. Exhale as you close into yourself, curling the spine. Inhale, arching the spine. Press into the floor with the hands. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And let's finish with an exhale because it's nice to curl and relax the spine before we continue. And then bring the knees back, and you can just have a little rest there, pressing the bottom down towards the heels. Keep the hands where they are and just rest the forehead on the floor. Have a little wriggle around or a few deep breaths. If that was quite hard on your wrist, you might want to just give the wrists a little bit of movement here. When you're on hands and knees, you can always do the position with your hands in your fists, with your thumbs forward, so that your wrists aren't such a struggle. And with the cat and cow, you can do it on your elbows, although it's quite difficult to get your nose to your knee. Yeah, but it's an option if your wrists are aching. So another lovely thing we can do is practice balance here. So it's a nice back strengthening exercise with a balance. So we will lift the right foot up like we were doing before, and the same hand presses into the floor. So right foot's up, right hand presses into the floor. We look forward, we see if we can hover the left hand off the floor, see if we can have any balance to take hold of that right foot, draw the shoulder back and lift the chest and the foot up. And you can just hold here for a few breaths. If you need extra stability, you might want to tuck the toes under the back foot, depending on if that makes it easier or harder. And we breathe deeply. And then we bring the hand back down. And then we bring the knee to the nose, just to stretch out the spine once again. And then we place the knee back in where it was. And then we press that knee down. We take the left foot up, pressing the left hand down and looking forward. We take the right hand up to take the foot. And then we draw the shoulder back, lift the foot up and look forward. Pressing into the floor with the left hand, and the right foot can press into the floor. So you really feel balanced. And the breath is full and deep. Lovely little back bend. And then we bring the hand back down and the knee to the nose, just to stretch out the spine. And then the knee back in place, and maybe another little rest here. It's lovely to rest in this kind of extended child pose every now and then, just to really relax the nervous system and take a moment to catch your breath. And then for a back strengthening pose, what we're going to do is we have hands and knees again. You can stretch the left foot back as if you're pressing the toes into the floor, really pressing the heel back, just stretching the whole of the leg. And then from there you can sweep that leg back up, really pushing against an imaginary wall. And then we try and lift the belly up, so we're really having a nice long spine. And from there, the opposite hand can sweep forward, maybe even up. And you're just really pressing into the floor with that left hand, drawing the abdomen and the lower ribs in towards the spine, pressing out and back with that left foot. And then we'll bring that right hand down, and once again, curl the knee into the nose. And then bring the knee back down. You can have a rest in between these, or you can just carry on. Pressing with the right foot back this time, pressing the toes into the floor, the ball of the foot into the floor, pressing the heel back, really feeling the strength in that back leg. And then raising it up as if you're pressing the sole of the foot into a wall, then the belly and the lower ribs. So you're really lengthening the back of the body. And then if you want to, sweeping the arm maybe here, or maybe lifting it up, pressing into the floor with the right hand, pressing back with the right leg, breathing deeply, keeping the spine as long as you can, taking a few breaths and bringing the hand back to the floor and tucking the knee into the nose once again. And then bringing the knee back, again have a little rest. Nice deep breath. And then we can come back onto hands and knees, but this time we're going to bring our elbows under our shoulders. We're going to stretch out the upper back, so the thighs stay perpendicular to the floor. So not pressing back, not pressing forward. So we really do need the blanket under the knees now. The right hand is going to come behind the left elbow, and the left hand's going to stretch forward. You're just going to drop your forehead down either onto your forearm, or you can move the forearm out of the way and drop the forehead to the floor. And we're just stretching the left side of the body, left fingertips towards the left hip, and just feeling a lovely opening across the chest and the whole of the left side. And this enables us to really open the lungs, so taking some nice deep breaths here. And then we'll come back onto our elbows and we'll do the other side. So the left hand goes behind the right elbow and the right hand goes forward, and we drop the forehead down either onto the left forearm, or you can stretch the forearm out of the way and bring the forehead to the floor. Now we're reaching the right fingertips away from the right hip and just allowing the chest to open towards the floor and the armpit to drop towards the floor, and the whole of the right side to stretch and yield. Take lots of breath here into the stretch. And then gently coming back onto the elbows. And then we can do both sides at once. You bring the left hand forward, then the right hand forward, and then the forehead to the floor. And this is where you start. And then you might be able to just sink a little bit into the floor with the chest. And depending on your shoulders, really, it might be too much. You might prefer to have the elbows out to the side so you can open the chest to the floor in a different way. If the shoulders are not too tight, you may be able to sink, reaching the hands further forward, sinking onto the nose and the chin. And maybe even if the chest falls to the floor, you might be able to get on the chest and the chin. But keep the neck nice and long. There's no need to fight. And if it's too much of the shoulders, take the arms a bit wider, maybe even bring the elbows towards the floor and just feel that the chest is opening up nicely. And then from here, rather than coming up, we just walk the hands back and drop the bottom to the heels into child pose. And now you might want to bring the hands back and give the shoulders a really good rest. Now, if the bottom touches the heels, that's great. So then the head and the bottom are weighted down. But if you find that the bottom is a little bit further up and it doesn't want to come down, then you probably want to raise the head up a little bit on your fists. So the head and bottom are allowed to sink equally. You can always open the knees out a little bit more and get the head to sink. You can have the forehead on the palms. Or if you're very flexible, you probably want your knees together so that you're in a little, curl up in a little ball. Just take a little breath here, just relax the shoulders as much as you can, maybe move the shoulders a little bit. And then bring the hands either side of the ears, press yourself up, and now take your knees wide. So as wide as the mat, maybe even wider. And you're going to just let the pubic bone sink down, let the chest move forward. And you can just come down as much as you want, keep the shoulders level. You'll feel that lovely opening in the inner thighs. And we try and keep the bottom on the heels if we can, and the big toes together. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. You may be able to drop to your forearms, keeping the chest open. So your hands are like the volume switch, really. You might be up, you might be coming down, and it really doesn't matter. You're getting a nice straight back, you're opening the chest, you're opening the inner thighs. And then maybe you can go lower, maybe after a few breaths you go lower, taking the elbows out and resting the forehead on the hands. Or maybe this is just an area where you're very supple and you can go all the way supine, but it's not a competition and it really doesn't matter. And you can have the shoulders relaxed, or you can be stretching out in front of you. So wherever you are, you're just relaxing, closing the eyes and really feeling nice openness in the inner thighs, openness in the chest, and taking lots of deep breaths. And then just to finish off this practice, just to allow the feet and the calf muscles to have a little break, we're going to just walk the hands back up. And we'll move the blanket out of the way. And bring the knees back together. And come up onto the fingertips and curl the toes under. So we're going to try now to press weight into the toes. So this might be enough to curl the toes under, to press the balls of the feet, to open up the arches, just opening up the soles of the feet. And again, the hands are like a volume switch. You might be able to come for a greater volume, walking the hands up the thighs. You may be able to drop the weight all the way down into the toes, but it might just be too much depending on what's going on in your feet. So find a way of getting a nice stretch into the backs of your feet, however that means. Maybe you need to do one at a time. Or maybe you go straight for maximum volume. And just feeling the bottoms of the feet opening up. And then finally, we'll just see if we can press the weight back onto the feet. Seeing if we can push the heels down towards the floor. So you probably need to keep some of the weight forward so you don't just fall backwards. And the heels don't need to go all the way to the floor. We're just feeling a nice stretch in the calves and the Achilles. So obviously if there's any Achilles damage, you don't want to be pressing or forcing. No need to press or force anyway. You just want to feel a nice stretch and breathe into it, coming up as much as you want. And then you can always, from there, press your bottom up and keep your knees bent and just have a nice little wiggle here. Maybe strengthening the legs, maybe not, depending on what's going on with your back. And then you can walk yourself up and carry on with your day. I hope that helps. I'm sure you'll feel much better now. Have a nice day and thanks for watching.